So it's pretty overdue, but we've been wanting to give you guys a little boat tour. We've wanted to do it for a while, but it just takes such a long time to get the boat looking good and like actually not have our stuff everywhere. So yeah, we've managed to find a bit of a morning to tidy up a bit, so here we go.
So we'll take you through just the inside and the outside and just show you our home for the last 3 years. I think part of the reason why we haven't wanted to do this yet is because we've been doing so many projects all the time. There's always been like one thing that's just, oh, we'll just finish that, we'll finish that, and then anyway. So it's never going to be perfect, and you'll see just where we've been living for the last 3 years or so.
Okay, so we're going to start with the galley. I feel like this galley is a pretty decent size. We redid our whole fridge setup. So before, when we bought Navika, it was just a massive top loader. The whole of this space was just a big fridge, and you could just lift it up like this. But all the insulation had gone, so we had to like rip it all out. The fridge was consuming so much, so we decided to, before we crossed the Atlantic, redo our fridge setup. And we found a pretty cool setup in the end. So what we did is we cut through here. There was a door here, but we had to change the shape of it a little bit. And now we have this isotherm fridge, which is really practical, really easy to use. Obviously, it's kind of like being in a real home, which is cool. But then we realized that after having gone from all this fridge space to just this, it didn't feel like very much. So we ended up also creating a top loader here, which is a fridge and doubles up as a freezer too. You just change the thermostat there to figure out whether you want it to be a fridge or freezer, which was great for the Atlantic because we just froze loads of meals and whipped them out and just heated them up as we went. Storage is great as it is throughout like the whole boat. So you've got like the teak everywhere, which we love on the Tayana. And then here we come to the sinks, which are 2 really deep sinks I absolutely love. It's really good for when you're underway. Dump your stuff in there if you really want. We've got a freshwater pump, foot pump, and a saltwater foot pump, which we also use if ever we're low on water or anything. We have this Cubatech, which is our UV water purifier. So it filters the water. It's just very difficult to stay on top of the cleanliness of the tanks and the hoses that we have and things. And even if we've got relatively new tanks, you still sometimes get like a plastic flavor. And I don't know, it's just nice to know that your water is always good. Double burner hob with the oven, the Eno oven, which we really like. We've made loads of bread in it. This gimbal's obviously as well, which is great for when we're at sea. Yeah, nice little porthole here and another one here for a bit of airflow when you're cooking. And it's really hot down below.
We're just on the other side of the galley, so we're on the starboard side of the boat here. And this is an area of the boat that we did a lot of work on. And was it worth the effort and the energy? Let's go with yes. But basically what we did is before, with the Tayana, what you had is a big chart table here. And it was huge. I mean, it really came out to here. And we don't use paper charts at all on the boat. We don't have any, and they're expensive to buy. So the table, whilst a good desk, was taking up a lot of space. And we thought it'd be nice to just reclaim a little bit of this space you can walk around in. And it just kind of makes the galley feel a lot bigger. And what it also meant was that this space could become a bit of a guest cabin, sort of a half guest cabin. What we do when we have guests here is that we just hang up a curtain here, and then they have a nice little private space. They're not having to sleep in the saloon, and when we get up and go out or make a coffee or whatever, they can stay sort of private down here. There used to be a bit of storage here, like different like lockers, so we got rid of that and just moved the bed out all the way to the hull to make the bed a little bit bigger and a bit more comfortable. You can almost get 2 people in here depending on the people. I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. We raised the bed a little bit higher as well, so that it gets a little bit more space and you have more storage underneath. At the back there actually is pretty cool. You can there's a little door here that gives you access to the engine room from behind. So that's where I'm sticking my head in if there's any problems at sea. Let's have a look at the chart table. So before, when the chart table was here, there was a wall coming up like this. And everything that you're seeing here was kind of against this wall and facing aft. So we sort of flipped it all around and we made a more miniature chart table on this side. And I actually really like the way that it turned out because it gives you everything that you need. We've got our radio, we've got our instrument repeater, and we've got like a smaller version of the chart table. It also kind of opened up this space a little bit, so when you're sitting here, you've got like a space to put things down, whereas before it was just like kind of closed off here.
We're planning on paneling this too. We just haven't gotten around to it yet.
So now we're in the main saloon area. I mean, it's all just one space really, but obviously it kind of separates off here. And what might not come across on camera is just how much space you have down here. And it's something that we kind of took for granted when we first moved onto the boat, but having visited other people's boats, like, this is so deep. You know, I'm 190 centimeters, or 6'3", and I still have space under here, so it feels really roomy. It feels really wide. This is actually a really nice saloon, and part of the reason for that is that you don't have any aft cabins. You just have the one cabin in front, so you've got this saloon in the widest part of the boat. We changed the cushions. That was probably the most expensive project that we did on this boat. We got cushions made in Spain before there was like this really horrible leather stuff. What's nice here is that this table actually drops down to make a big double bed here. So when we have a lot of people on board, if it's a couple, we put 2 people here, 1 person in the back, and you can also have somebody sleeping here on the starboard side. And this is actually a berth that we used a lot underway on passage when we were crossing the Atlantic. Put up the lee cloth here that comes out and then attaches up to these fixed points here, and then this becomes a really, really comfortable sea berth that you then can keep an eye on, the radar. You can keep an eye on the wind speed and everything, and you've got the VHF. Like, this is a really nice spot underway. There's a lot of storage everywhere, so I mean, everywhere you look has got hidden storage. But down here we've got our toolbox, which is such a good place to have it because unfortunately you need access to this all the time. But behind all the cushions as well, you've got storage. So back here we usually fill this up with tins and food and things for on passage. We've obviously got our bookshelf, and there's storage back here as well. Things are looking a little bit empty at the moment because we don't have any big passages coming up, but when we left for the Atlantic, this was just rammed with food. In fact, it took us months to finish all the food that we bought. So you got more storage back here as well, similar deal. And of course you can see the chain plates coming down here as well, which is quite nice because you can kind of inspect them when you need to. We got a lot of comments about this guitar mount, which we really, really love. And it was made as a gift for us by a friend who's on another boat, who's a woodworker, and we're trying to think about a way to mount the guitar on the wall, and anyway we came up with this together, and he went and made it, so it's just like a little piece that the guitar sits into, and then this sort of locks it in place and turns the guitar into a bit of decoration, but also keeps it totally safe at sea. It's one of my sort of favorite pieces on the boat. Finally, down here, what I can just point out to you is the water maker. This panel actually, if you look there, there's a drawer. There's just no drawer, and we just put the panel in there, which I thought was pretty elegant. It was actually Alex's idea. At one point, in my kind of insanity, I was going to cut a hole through this T and install it behind here. Gladly, Alex pointed out that there's a space already made here, so we put it in here. This thing has been great for us. It's a 60 liter per hour water maker. To me, that's just like one of the most magic pieces of kit on the boat. We've got our whole solar setup, which then charges our lithium batteries, which then can make water that we drink from the ocean for free. Well, for free. It was really expensive, but whilst you're doing it, it feels free. But I don't know, just the autonomy and the feeling of like being able to do that and not having to plan your routes around going into marinas and filling up water is game changing.
When we first moved on board, there was a mini TV over here where the guitar is, and both of us were like, TV, we don't need that. We don't actually want to watch TV or anything. So we chucked it out, and then we ended up getting another one just later down the line. This used to be a hanging locker, but we put loads of shelves in it. It's also a bit of a mess right now, but they're super deep, obviously, the higher up you are, but it goes all the way right back to the back of the boat, so we can't even reach the back. When we bought the boat, this back piece wasn't made, and it was quite uncomfortable to sit and use it as a sofa. It's a little bit annoying now. I guess you just have to like lean it forward to get access to the storage space. Here we just have more food. Same on this side pretty much. I mean, honestly, like, we've still got food from a very long time ago. Soda stream, we love having that on the boat as well. It's kind of a nice little luxury. You can make your own fizzy water. And then obviously more storage under here. So we've got water tanks, two water tanks under this side, right?
Yep.
And then one on this side and one underneath the bed, and there's a total of, I think, 370 litres.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us that's been great. We ended up putting in completely new tanks because we didn't have any when we came on board. First we got the flexible ones, they all chafed through, so I really don't recommend that. And yeah, we've just got regular kind of plastic tanks now, which does a job. And then here we have our cellar, so where we keep all the booze. Still some old stuff in there. To be honest, we don't really drink that regularly, but yeah, that's the bilge. Pretty deep as well. And then under you, Lars, we have our engine tank too. Our diesel tank.
So that's 370 litres as well.
So this, before you come through, is the door to the head, which also, so obviously closes like this, but it's kind of cool because it closes like this too. So it obviously sections off the room if you want that, and yeah, it kind of makes like a mini ensuite if you want. Here we've got loads of locker room here. This is a big locker, storage down here, and this is where Lars and I sleep. Should I get in? Is that weird?
Yeah. Go for it.
It's actually wider and deeper than it looks. We actually love it. We sleep better than we do when we're on land in like a regular double bed. We redid all of the mattresses here as well, because we were getting a little bit of moisture and things underneath the bed. First of all, we went and bought some foam mattresses, 2 single bed mattresses from IKEA. What the problem was with the moisture was that the mattresses were just sitting straight on the plywood, so similarly to the sofas and everything. And there's no way for the moisture that you create at night or anything to kind of go anywhere if that's the case, if it's just lying straight on wood. Lars did this massive job creating these like frames that now you can lift up, that now obviously everything can breathe really, really well. We can also see what's in the underneath the bed a bit more easily as well. So it was a big job, but 100% recommend it, and I don't think I've seen it done like this on many other boats before. So if you are looking for a solution against moisture and things like that, I really recommend this setup. We've got this big hatch, which is really great for airflow, and at night you can see the stars and things, which is really nice. And then we'll come through to the head quickly. We installed the shower. We didn't have any hot water when we came on board 3 years ago, so we installed hot water, and then installed the shower too, that is like a tap but also a shower, so this becomes like a wet room if you want. We've got like a sump pump too, but the reality is we mostly shower up on deck. Yeah, so we never really use it for showering unless we're in a cold place.
What we've also got here, of course, is the engine, which you can't see here under the steps, but basically all you do is lift this up. So you get pretty good access to the engine. This piece also comes out, and then you basically have the whole engine there that you can work on. Thankfully for us, there hasn't been many like big projects or anything to do on the engine, just general maintenance, like changing fuel filters and stuff. And then what you also got just above it then is our electrical panel. And this is just where all the power in the boat comes to, and is then distributed out to all the different instruments. And so, you know, if anything needs power, this is where it takes it from. Behind is the nightmare. It's not so bad, to be honest. There is method to the madness, but this is definitely the nervous system of the boat, the brain of the boat. This is kind of where it's all happening from an electrical perspective. All right, so we are on deck on Navika, and we thought we'd just show you around a little bit and just point some things out and kind of show you what Navika's like outside. Where we are right now is the bows to the front of the boat, and what you can see down at Alex's feet is the bowsprit. Navika is a cutter rig boat, which means that she's got 2 head sails or 4 sails. We got this one at the front at the end of the bowsprit that goes right up to the top of the mast, right? And that's our jib, or it's actually a jib, it's 100% jib. And then we've got our staysail here, which we use under heavier weather if it's really windy. It's quite a bit smaller than the head sail. It only goes up to about 80% of the mast, and it just kind of brings the power of the boat, power of the sail into the boat a little bit. And so when you've also reefed the main, the kind of power of the boat comes into the center, so it makes it easier for the autopilot to handle, and it works super well actually. I love this. Yeah, really love the cutter rig setup because it just gives you so much flexibility. So this is actually one of the best spots in town for underway. When we're sailing along, you get the dolphins under here, you get the waves breaking under here.
Not for comfort.
Well, if we're going downwind, it's pretty chilled.
I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a roller coaster sometimes. We've got our windlass. This is kind of one of the workhorses on board. It helps us, you know, bring the anchor up and put the anchor down. Really happy to have it, actually. I mean, there's been a couple of times we've been on boats that either don't have them or it's broken, and anchoring is a much higher stakes situation. If you get it wrong and you need to re-anchor, the whole crew is pissed off. I mean, I like this space on Navika. This foredeck is actually surprisingly spacious. I roll out a yoga mat here sometimes and do some yoga. When we were like working out this morning, for example, this was enough space to work out. And up here as well, you've got quite a bit of space. And when you close that, you get a nice open area here. Alex rolls her mat out here. It's not quite long enough for me, but it works for her. And yeah, for a 37-foot boat, we've actually got quite a bit of deck space. These are beautiful, first of all, and also work really well. It's not something I appreciated at all until spending some time on other people's boats, but the amount of ventilation that you get from these down below is really cool. Basically what it is, it's a box where if rain goes in, it doesn't go straight down into the boat and just comes out the side. The hole that goes into the boat is here, so the air sort of goes through this box and into the hole and then down into the boat. So you get this constant stream of air going into the boat, which is really nice. You can turn them as well if you're at sea and you don't want like a wave crashing into them, or if it's too windy even. Yeah, these are great. And also I think they look quite boaty, classic. We've got a self-tacking staysail. So it's on a self-tacking sheet here, which just means that when we tack the staysail, we don't need to think about it. It just takes care of itself, which means we can deal with the other lines that need to be dealt with. Also really nice when it's just heavy weather, and that's when we're gonna have the staysail out. You just don't need to think about it too much. There's not too much that can go wrong. Coming onto the mast, we have this awesome painted black mast, which I don't know, nobody does this, and so it always sticks out in the anchorage. You can always see Navika just because of her mast. And a few people have asked us if it's carbon. Obviously it's not carbon. On a full keeled, you know, 10-ton behemoth like Navika, carbon mast is not. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, looks carbon, looks swish. Most of our lines run back to the cockpit, so most of the work that we do at the cockpit, the only thing that we do here is maybe, you know, hoisting the main by hand, goes a bit faster, or if I need to attach a reef point here for the mainsail, then that's what we do. What's cool with these Tayanas is the rig is super simple and pretty over-engineered, which is always really reassuring. What you've got is two lower shrouds that just go up to the spreaders, really beefy shrouds. And you've got the cap shroud on the outside that goes right to the top of the mast. And then you've also got this shroud here, which goes to where the inner forestay meets the mast to give a bit of support for the staysail. And you have a running backstay, which we use when we're using the staysail only, because if you imagine the pressure of the sail is pulling on the mast, and that's okay on the head sail because you've got the backstay that balances that pressure. But on the staysail, it's just pulling at a random point on the mast. So this stays to help that, but the angle is so close to the mast that it doesn't really, it's not enough when you're just under staysail. So you run this back, this stay, when you're using it, back to the D-ring at the end of the deck there, and you pull in the tension, and it just gives the mast a little bit more support when you're running under your staysail alone. So this is the butterfly hatch, and just like, I think it's beautiful. I think it's a total work of art. It's you know, it's the main source of light down in the cabin. It just I think looks so classic. We had somebody come on the boat the other day, and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd probably just put a hatch in there." And I was like, "Get off." Seriously though, this thing is amazing. The glass itself is protected, so even if you're working on the mast or anything, you can walk on here. It's all really strong, yeah, it gives great ventilation and great light down below. But yeah, she just feels very safe, like very, I don't know.
High coamings.
Yeah, these bulwarks make a huge difference. So very often, you know, the edge of the boat is just the edge, and things can fall off and your foot can go through. But with these coamings, it just gives this sense of you being sort of protected in, especially if you imagine when the boat is heeling, this becomes almost like an edge that, you know, your foot can gain support against, and you just feel a bit more, I don't know, held into the boat a little bit. Okay, I don't know, I feel like this is just a love fest for the Tayana, but yeah, let's do it. So the stanchions on Navika and on the Tayanas are just really strong. Unlike a lot of modern production boats, these all have 2 fixed points, so they're supported, you know, horizontally and down into the deck, and they're just very stable, very strong. So we've got a gate that opens here, and the same on the other side. So that's where we have the swim ladder at the moment down to go swimming. So we just open up whatever side, yeah, we feel like, or whatever, really. So much flexibility here. We've got 1 track here, a 2nd track slightly further out, and a 3rd track all the way outboard, all like stainless steel and really nice. So you just have a lot of options when you're sailing and you want to run some extra lines and things. It works really well. A life raft under its cover. We got this thing renewed in Spain as well. Went to the actual factory and saw some crazy life rafts when they were there. But anyway, yeah, hopefully we never need to use this, but at least it's in a kind of semi-usable location. So the whole time we've been walking along these teak decks, and if you followed us at all, you'll know that we've done a huge renovation project on these decks. We got some really good advice from a ship's carpenter and friend of ours, and he helped us out in understanding how to do it, and we spent a month completely renovating the teak. And so it looks pretty good now. It was hard. Probably wouldn't do it again, but now that we have it, I love it. I think it just it's a really nice surface, especially when it goes gray like this. Even though it maybe doesn't look as nice, it's less hot. The gray doesn't get too hot in the feet. It's really grippy. It's like you don't need to worry if anything knocks or bangs it, or if you spill anything on it. Worst case, you can sand it out. Yeah, it's great.
Alright, so this is the Dodger, or the spray hood, that we actually got remade, because the last one we had when we bought the boat was getting a little bit old and worn and things, and you couldn't really see through the plastic as much. So yeah, we got another one made, but we also made the most of it to actually heighten it a little bit, so lift it up a bit more. And this is mainly because when we were in the cockpit, you know, you kind of felt like you were poking around all the time, or like dodging and dipping and stuff, so
dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
So yeah, so we ended up lifting it up a bit more, and actually what it means now for the cockpit, which we'll see in a second, is that it makes the cockpit feel way bigger, and that we just have like this 360 view of what's in front of us. So even at sea, it's been really good, because you feel quite protected in there. Bit of a wait a sec. In fact, I need to just clean up a bit.
Alright, well, Alex didn't really have any inspiration. So we're in the cockpit right now, and this basically serves as a second living room for us. This is where we spend a lot of time, you know, having meals or chilling out, and this is definitely just one of the rooms on Navika, and I love being in here. I find it really like warm and cozy. You've got the teak decks, and in here they're in especially good condition because we take care of it a little bit more in the cockpit, just because we spend so much time here, but also it's protected from the UV by the bimini as well, so it just stays in better condition. So we've got these comfort seats, which are an awesome addition. These we bought a couple years ago, and at sea they make such a difference because they just really support you and you're not leaning up across the coamings. And this is the helming station. So we've got the helm here, we've got the throttle down by my foot, and we've got the ship's compass here. And as you can see, there's a really good view through the Dodger in front. Alex looks straight through the glass. I actually look just over it, and we designed it with that in mind. One of the projects that we did in here is that we removed all the instruments from this space. There used to be like a big instrument housing thing here, and that worked fine, but when we upgraded the instruments, we could just reduce it down to 2 panels that we put down here. And it just opened up a lot of space. So usually when we're having meals and having food, there's a table that we install here, which is just stored down below, and there's a bar that goes down for it. If you imagine having food here with a big thing here with the instruments, it just kind of cuts your view of the other people. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be able to see you right now, whereas now I can. One of the things that we installed that was like at the top of the priority list, according to Alex, for the Atlantic was exterior speakers, and yeah, it is a really nice to have actually. There's a really useless but also pretty cool, I mean, it gives a bit of ventilation porthole down into the galley here, and I just think this one looks very,
I like it.
yeah, it's great. And over on this side you have one of the pieces of kit that we were very lucky was already installed when we bought the boat, because we would have never done it ourselves, and that's the electric winch. We use this for hoisting the mainsail mostly, and if I need to go up the mast, then Alex uses this to hoist me up the mast, which is, yeah, really useful. I'll just quickly show you the storage that we've got in the cockpit. On the starboard side, we've just got a regular locker that just goes down to this depth here that you can see, that we put like lines and bits and pieces in. In here you've got the big locker that we call the lockpit, the cockpit locker. This actually goes right down underneath the cockpit. It gives you access to the back of the engine. It gives you access
it's such
to...
a mess.
It's not a mess. No, that looks like how it's meant to look.
Okay.
What you can see here is the charge controllers for the solar panels, and this is the pump for the hydraulics for the autopilot, and there are the 2 lithium batteries with the red lids down there. Yeah, we put a bunch of stuff in here, like dive bottles and spare sails and lines and fenders and grab bags and yeah, loads of stuff. So then coming up to the top of the Dodger, the Bimini, you can see our flexible solar panels. So we actually did the sewing project for this ourselves to get them fitted on here, and it was, yeah, a trying time. I gotta say, trying to sew these things in was a very difficult project, but we managed, and we put panels in there. This is actually the round 2 of panels, because the first panels we bought were a little bit cheap, and they just broke after a short amount of time, so we forked out and bought some decent ones, and these have been working great for us. So they're all hooked together, and we've got 200 watts up here, and they're on their own charge controller. And then over there, where we'll go next, is our main solar panel, the beast. So this bad boy is a 450 watt rigid panel that we mounted across the dinghy davits, and we installed this ourselves in Spain. And I gotta say, this is one of my proudest installs, because it's just, I don't know, it just looks good, feels good, works great, and yeah, I think we did it. I think we did a good job on this one. What we also did, if you just loosen up your side, is made it so that you can tilt the panel in the evening, and we could actually just leave it like that now. So between this one and the panels on top, we've got 650 watts, which does us pretty well. Under here is usually where the surfboard is stored, but it's on deck at the moment. And these are the dinghy davits. And of course, yeah, the Gildos. We installed it's called Eclectic Energy, the D400. It's a wind generator. It's great. As you can hear, it's not too loud. We've got maybe close to 15 knots of wind at the moment, maybe 13 knots of wind, and it's not too loud. We don't even hear it when we're in the cockpit, just because the Bimini blocks out the sound, and it just produces power all the time through the night. It's obviously not enough to charge the boat or cover everything, but it's just a nice little trickle that's happening all the time. One of the things that's not immediately obvious on a boat like this when you first look at it is just how much woodwork there is to take care of, and how much, you know, varnishing and bright work there is. Because you look at it, you think, wow, yeah, that looks beautiful, it looks classic, I want that, and that's what we did. And just kind of ignored the fact that there's just all this wood to take care of. Unfortunately, the UV rays, science just still hasn't figured out a way to protect wood from UV for more than about a year. So everything that you're seeing here needs to be varnished once a year, maybe every other year, depending on where you're cruising. Sounds like not such a big deal until you really look closely at how much there is. So there's the handrails, there's the butterfly hatch, you've got this trim here which goes all the way around the coach roof, you've got this level of trim that also goes all the way around, you've got the cap rails which are huge and go all the way around the boat as well,
And the rub rail.
you've got the rub rail on the outside here which also goes all the way around. You've got the Dorad boxes, right? 4 of them. You've got this hatch here that also needs varnishing. You've got the entire bowsprit. Our primary camera has died and our GoPro just died, but we're on the iPhone, so here we go. Anyway, I was pointing out all the sources of varnish and work on the boat, and then if we go back to the cockpit,
Lead the way.
there's even more. Oh, and don't forget all these little things,
Oh yeah, which we didn't do.
which we've ignored. You've got the Traveler teak, but wait, there's more. In here we've got the combings, you've got all of this that needs bright work, you've got this whole thing which we've neglected a little bit, and you've got little bits here, you've got the wheel, you've got trim right here, you've got the trim around the cubby holes.
We get it.
Anyway, point is, just, I don't know, she looks great now, and to be honest, now that we understand how to do it, we know what products work and we know what the process is, like, I feel like it's within the realms of possibility, but just be aware that if you're looking at a boat like this, you gotta love sanding and you gotta love that process because you're gonna be doing it for the rest of your ownership.
Wouldn't you say it's meditative, Lars?
Yeah, I don't know. It is also, honestly, it can be the most infuriating thing. I mean, the biggest moments of doubt that we've had with Navika is when we actually come to sand all the bright work and we realize, oh my god, this is going to take us weeks to do. Why did we sign up for this? And then it's finished and then it looks great and you think, why would I buy any other boat? I can't buy something that doesn't have this amount of soul and charm. So, a bit of a catch-22, to be honest. Yeah, it's kind of a problem now that we've had a boat like this for so long, because it's a real experience just being on board, or at least I find that it is, just because of the workmanship and how beautiful it is. So it makes other more modern or less classic looking boats feel a little bit sad or soulless somehow. It's true, and yet you're signing yourself up to this horrendous amount of work, so I don't know what you do with that, to be honest. That's the outside of Navika. I hope you enjoyed this tour.